Welcome to Highly Sensitive, Happily Married, the podcast that teaches you to not only have an easier marriage as a sensitive woman, but to have one that feels more amazing by the day. Where you'll hear relatable stories, love advice that works, and coaching on how to have a marriage where feeling upset and disconnected is a thing of the past, and where instead a sense of loving connection and even fun and lightness is the norm. I'm Hannah Brooks, highly sensitive person, love expert, and marriage coach, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you. Hello, my friends, and welcome to this special episode of Highly Sensitive, Happily Married. So as things are changing a bit in my world, in my business, I want to share some updates and a couple announcements so you can know what to expect and look forward to and do this year, 2025, to have a better relationship with my help, either via the podcast or my courses and deep dives. So please listen in to this short, somewhat logistical episode, which will lay out all of that and help you make the most of the podcast this year. So as you may or may not be aware of, I've recorded 184 or so episodes over the last 4 years for this podcast. Some of these were bonus episodes that I didn't give a number, which is why you don't see them numbered up to 184. But in any case, that's a lot of episodes and tons to dive into for you to learn about relationship skills, emotional skills, and how to improve both your marriage or intimate relationship and your overall emotional well-being as a deep feeling and or sensitive person. And up until now, I've really made it a goal to be very consistent in releasing episodes for this podcast. At first, it was once a week, if you remember back in the day, but then to honor my own and your deep processing and give us both a bit of extra room to digest and integrate all of it, I changed it to 3 episodes out of every 4 weeks, with them pretty much always dropping on Thursdays. I totally love making this podcast, and I want to proceed a bit differently than I have been with it. Seeing as whether you're new here or you've been listening for a long time, there are so many episodes, none of which are shallow or just skim the surface of a topic. And I give a lot to you here on this podcast and go somewhat deep, even though, of course, there is deeper to go. So at this point, I feel you all have a huge amount of help to turn to in what I've already done with this podcast. It's a giant library full of specific and also bigger picture help and teachings for you to keep returning to, for you to keep using as a resource, for you to keep kind of like excavating and digging into to find all the golden gems that are important and just right for you and your relationship. So this makes it easier for me to choose to slow down a bit, at least for now. So going forward, I plan to release new episodes less frequently, more inconsistently. I honestly don't love the pressure that I feel when I tell myself I have to be consistent and release 3 episodes out of every 4 weeks on a Thursday, which, by the way, is a made-up story some marketing dude somewhere made anyway. It's not a rule that I have to abide by to really help you and make a difference in your life. So I'm going to make up my own rules for now. The podcast also, as you can imagine, takes up a whole lot of my time, and that's in part due to my HSP nature and wanting to make it really meaningful and deeply helpful for you. And I really want to free myself up to continue to use my time in the best ways to help you and also to live a life I feel really fed by. So from now on, you can expect new episodes, of course, but more randomly. I won't be locking myself into any particular schedule with releasing episodes. So what does this mean for you? Well, I'm going to ask you for a few things so you can continue to stay connected and aware of new episodes. And the first thing is to make sure that you're subscribed. If you haven't ever subscribed to this podcast, I highly, highly recommend actually pressing that subscribe button. And even if you are, double check, this is really important, double check regularly, not just now, that you're still receiving downloads, especially if you listen to this on Apple Podcasts. So as of about a year ago or so, Apple stopped auto downloading episodes that you're subscribed to. So that happens if you haven't listened to 2 or more of the newer episodes in a row. And if that happens to you, right, if you take a break from listening for whatever reason and you miss only 2 episodes, what will happen is you won't be alerted when I release a new podcast episode, which will make it easy to forget to listen, to not know that there are new episodes to listen to. So don't let that happen. What you need to do to keep getting those auto downloads is to click the download button, which is in the upper right corner of the Apple app on your phone. And if you are receiving auto downloads, it will look like a check mark. If not, it's going to look like a little arrow pointing down. So if it's that little arrow pointing down, click that and it will reinstate auto downloads again. And then you might need to do that again in the not too far off future. Because again, if you miss 2 episodes, it's going to stop auto downloading again. So you'll just have to click that button again. So just stay on top of that so you can continue to get access to the new and most relevant episodes for you. Another thing you can do is I'd love to hear from you about any topics you'd like me to cover. I may or may not always use your ideas or suggestions for new episodes, but I'd love to know what you want to hear about, of course. So to submit an idea or ask for me to cover a topic, you can head over to my website, www.hspmarriagecoaching.com, and you'll find a contact me area. So just fill out that contact, tell me you're requesting a topic and tell me what it is, and I'll see if it's a topic that feels appropriate for the podcast. Or if you're on my email list, you can simply hit reply to any email I send you. And you can easily hop on my email list if you're not already on it. I highly recommend it. I show up there regularly with all sorts of help and love letters for you. You can just go to my website as well to do that. You'll find plenty of spots to hop on that email list. Okay, another way that you can make the most of the podcast that most of you haven't taken advantage of, some of you certainly have, but is by getting access to my podcast map. Illustrator and I made this beautiful podcast map. It's what I like to call a trail guide to help you make the most of the podcasts and find answers to your relationship questions so you can have a better marriage as an HSP. It's going to help you sort through the first 130 or so episodes so that you can know exactly which ones will help you in your specific situation the most. You're going to get access to it when you make a $3 or more donation to support the podcast. I will also put the link to that in the show notes, or you can find it in the drop-down button underneath the button that says podcast/blog. That's over on my website. Lastly, I really want to make sure that you know that over the last year or so, I've spent a lot of time and energy making my business be more accessible to everyone, meaning I no longer only do deep dive programs, but I now have an array of on-demand courses as well as a smaller live course. And these come in a range of lower prices, some of them very, very low. I know that the podcast offers a lot, and it is not designed to guide you through specific transformations nearly as deeply, fully, and in a way that really helps you apply what I teach to your specific relationship so you truly create real change. These courses do. They're all about that. So if you've enjoyed the podcast, but you know you could use more support to really change things in your marriage for the better, these courses are an amazing place to go. Not only are they really affordable, but they'll really help you change specific areas of your relationship and life, and you can go at your own pace. Although, of course, I do make suggestions about how to pace yourself in them. And they give you a deeper and real taste of what it's like to work even more closely with me. And for those of you who've been a bit intrigued by the idea of working directly with me, this is a great way to test it out without a large commitment of money or time, and really see some great progress in the connection, ease, love, and goodness in your committed relationship. So you can find all of these courses under the Courses and Events tab at my website. Again, that's hspmarriagecoaching.com. The current courses that I have that are on demand, which means, by the way, that you can start right away or anytime, and you get to keep them forever, so you can keep coming back to them as much as you want. The current courses are the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days challenge. This is a 7-day challenge. In other words, a course that I lay out to be taken over the course of 1 week, where I guide you through the most potent and research-backed ways, meaning they work, to create deeper connection with your spouse in simple, bite-sized pieces. Just one little thing a day that you can do differently or shift inside of yourself that will create so much more connection quickly with your significant other when you apply it. One of the things I love about this course is that I give you 4 sort of generalized categories of areas you can shift proactively, either inside of you or between you and your spouse. Energetic shifts, biochemical shifts, doing and saying very different things, so shifting the way you say and do things, and removing blocks to intimacy and connection in yourself. I make it really tangible, and you get some options to choose from, since this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, but rather something you can personalize. So I think of some of this as a choose-your-own-adventure style course. And the best part of it is that you can go through it more than once and reap more and more closeness each time you do. And all of this is only $37. So I think it's a total steal for the amount of change and connection and closeness you'll create when you take it and apply what I teach. I won't go through the rest of the courses as in-depth as that, but the next course that I offer is the Stop Taking It So Personally course. In this course, you focus in on the most fundamental work of moving out of any hurt that you're experiencing in and around your relationship into way more peace in your marriage. And this course is really going to help you end reactivity and move back into your big, deep heart and be best positioned to most effectively communicate and advocate for the kind, loving, respectful treatment that you deserve. I actually think of this course as more than just not taking things personally anymore, but really as my level 101 course. It really is an excellent starting place to get some of the most basic concepts and skills that I teach under your belt for those of you on a smaller or a sort of shoestring budget, or anyone wanting some real change without the bigger time commitment of my bigger coaching programs. So check out the description for this one to learn more. This one is a real game changer, and it's a little bit more money at $179 because it's so foundational and goes deep in a very succinct and powerful way. I highly recommend this for pretty much everyone, even if you're not totally sure you take things personally. It really goes beyond that. My smallest course is a 45-minute workshop called Bring Back the Attraction, 7 Keys to Sparking More of That Magical Appeal That You Used to Feel. So this is for any of you who feel like you would like to feel more attraction between you and your spouse and you just don't have any idea how to create it, or you want some real practical guidance to how to bring that back alive. And this one is only $17, so just a drop. But will make a big difference for those of you who aren't feeling as much attraction as you'd like. Lastly, I also have the Foundations of Emotional Well-Being for HSP. This is a live course and it only runs occasionally, but it's only 4 weeks long, and it was a huge hit with my past participants who wanted to learn how to regulate their emotions and generally just feel better in their lives and their relationships. So you can get on the wait list for that now. So I'm going to put the links for all of these courses in the show notes. But again, you can find them all under the Courses and Events tab over at my website. So all of these courses are going to be affordable for pretty much everyone, and they'll help most of you much more than my podcast has done. So I highly, highly encourage you to take one or all of these courses, whether or not you are somewhat new to the podcast. And it's not like the courses replace the podcast, but they will give you a more concrete base onto which the podcast episodes will build. So taking these courses will actually make the podcast more useful to you. So definitely check them out and dive into them. So part of the reason I'm slowing down my podcast episodes is I'm wanting to give myself some time to work on the behind the scenes of my business and more deeply consider how I want to move forward into the future to help you. This podcast has taken so much of my heart and energy and time, and I'm excited to see what emerges as I let it take less of me. So I'm not leaving you at all. I'm just redirecting and reorienting a bit so I can help you better and in a way that feeds my soul too and lets me explore more of who I am and what I want to bring to this world. And who knows, maybe I'll decide to amp back up on the frequency of the episodes again. But for now, please look for the new episodes a little less frequently. And again, stay subscribed or you may totally miss them. And re-listen to old episodes or find episodes that you may not have yet listened to. And of course, check out my courses. All right, my lovely friends, be oh so well, and I will talk to you soon.